Welcome. This is Rob Fighting with another Duel Commander video. Today I will be playing Uharis or Spider-Man, I think 2099. You can't cast Uharis during first, second or third turn of the game. It has double strike and vigilance at the beginning of your end step if you've played a land or cast a spell this turn from anywhere other than your hand. Uharis deals damage equal to his power to any target, which is of course fantastic to have in the command zone because casting it from the command zone is somewhere else than from your hand. And then you have a bunch of spells that give flashback, for example, the new card Flashback itself, Snapcaster Mage. You do have some cards that have flashback itself, Reckless Charge, and in the end it's just a very low to the ground blue-red control deck that has the combo aspect of shooting anything. So is it a big creature or is it just your opponent's face? I like the cards, I like the deck, I like that it plays a lot of basics, so the mana issues that I struggled with in many of my Duel Commander videos, thinking about Terra 5 color, thinking about Prosh 3 color, the mana issues I had there should not be relevant in Uharis in the new Spider-Man. I'm curious how it will go. I'm curious how the mana will look like. Hopefully I don't mulligan so much. Hopefully I am on the winning side. Let's find out. We are on round number 1. First opening hand. We have some removal, some counter spells, some new broken draw spells. Our opponent plays Prismari, 7 mana, flying, ward, pay 5 life, instant sorcery spells you cast have Storm. So blue-red mirror, but my opponent has a big mana guy and also a bunch of storm cards. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, I could fetch right away because of Stifle and the likes. Of course, getting the Surveil land. Mental Misstep. It's probably okay. Maybe I should have kept it, but I felt I wanted to have more expensive spells. Land, go. Opponent plays Ponder. I memory lapse it. That would be a good situation for the Mental Misstep because my opponent can just play Ponder next turn, tails end. Of course, fantastic draw to counter the 7 mana commander. Here is the Ponder again, land again. I want to draw some cards. Opponent fetches in response, High Tide in the graveyard. Murex is cool, I like the lands. And I use Opal Palace to make my Uharis a 3/4. I only have 1 mana up. Opponent knows my hand anyways, but he's a bit further away from his commander Prismari. Basalt Monolith will help, of course. Let's see what we can see in his hand. Impulse, Memory Lapse, Spell Pierce, land, Intuition. So a bit further away from the combo. Let's cast Flow State. Unfortunately, I don't hit the combo with Reckless Charge because that would be winning right away. Still have counters. Should be fine. Let's attack for 6. Opponent goes to 4. And he plays an Impulse. He still has 2 counter spells, Intuition in hand, 2 cards I don't know. One is the land that he just played. 3 unknown cards. He passes. Maybe I should have made the token, but I decided I want to cast Concert with the Stars. Unfortunately, I don't hit Lightning Bolt. Would have made my life a bit easier. Reckless Charge is cool. The tapped red land is not that great. Let's attack for 3. He has to kill it. I am countering the spell. Maybe I should just let it go and play it again, because I do have the combo with Reckless Charge, Snapcaster Mage. I do know that my opponent has Memory Lapse and Spell Pierce in hand, so fighting over the Snapcaster Mage Doesn't feel great, especially given that our opponent can play his commander next turn. Still, I fight. Yeah, I just let it go. That was not really clever, and he even gets to block with the Snapcaster Mage. So yeah, that was my bad. He can now play his commander. I do know of Intuition in his hand. First way to the combo. He also has Merchant Scroll, copies it with 1 mana left on in his mana pool. Twiddle is of course fantastic to untap his lands, and I am dead to the combo. To be honest, I also wanted to see how the combo works, how he kills, and this made me very comfortable for the next games, because we are Blue-Red Mirror, but he has to play all the cards like Twiddle, Merchant Scroll, Grip, High Tide, that my cards should just be of better quality. Let's see if it actually works out in game number 2. Game number 2 on the play, hopefully not so many removal. Well, Flame Slash is a bit of a stinker, but we have a counter spell, Stock Up and Sync as interactive spells. So this should be fine. Land go. Let's get the Surveyor land on in the graveyard. I have enough lands. Consult is great, just another card draw spell. I don't really want to cast it on turn 2, I want to get more value off of it. So I begin with playing Stock Up. Let's see if my opponent counters it. He does. Spell Pierce. Wild Ride is of course fantastic with our commander. Hopefully I can draw a red source so I can play commander and Wild Ride and get rid of Sarkhan. I don't. That's a bit of a bummer. I put in the Sync as a land, and then I can still cast Consult or Subtlety. Subtlety would be a way to pressure Sarkhan, or just Consult to find the land. There's a Daze, unfortunate. Opponent fetches. Afraid of Tail's End. No red land, that's a bummer. I still play the commander. There's a Spell Snare. I do remand it because I have no 2 mana spells in hand, and here we draw a red land. How great. We can Wild Ride the Uharis, hit him for 10, also kill Sarkhan in the process. Fantastic. Like, this combination is so cool. I love it so much. 15 damage. I don't think it matters if he is at 4. I would rather kill the Sarkhan because it makes him cast the Prismari dragon much cheaper. Let's see what my opponent can do. Opt, Impulse, Fetch. I still have the Wild Ride in the graveyard that I can use for Harmonize and Logic Knot as a counterspell. Opponent has 4 cards. I think it's correct to go for it. I can tap the commander and just pay 3 mana, and I still have Logic Knot. Let's see if my opponent has 2 ways to interact. He doesn't, just a remand. So let's Logic Knot. Opponent has to have Force of Negation, or he dies to the trigger of Uharis in the end step. And he dies. Yippee. Game number 2 for me. So my feelings of him having more unimportant cards was correct. Let's see if it also works out in game number 3. Some lands, Memory Lapse, Wash Away as counter spells, Stock Up as a fantastic card engine. Let's do it. Opponent just has a land and a draw spell, Serum Visions. He also has to play all the weaker draw spells that I don't have to. Probe. Now he sees my hand. Consider. Frantic Search in the bin. He doesn't have the land. It's going to be tough to cast a 7 mana Planeswalker if you missed land drops, but here he found it. I'm not afraid of Tail's End. Maybe I should. Lost a few games because of it. But then again, it's 1 in 99. And countering a commander feels so much better than countering a fetch land. especially in the 2-color decks. End step Brainstorm, which means opponent puts on top 2 and in his draw step he draws 1. So he only gets to get rid of 1 card and he is mana screwed. Not a fan of this play. Let's see if it works out. There is a fetch land, so at least 1 card he can get rid of. And also he found the lands. He surveys right away, again afraid of Tail's End, but I do have mana up and he does it in his turn, so I don't even lose the mana in my turn. I play Flame of Anor. Let's draw some cards. I hope that my opponent counters so I can counter back, but here I have to discard because I have too many cards in hand. I can just discard extra lands. Chain Lightning is interesting. I decide to force it because I want to keep pressure up. Iteration as second play is interesting. He didn't make the land drop yet. I memory lapse it. It feels like a time walk because he has to play it next turn. And in my turn I can cast the Stock Up, played land before because of Spell Pierce, and I wish to hit the combo in Reckless Charge or Wild Ride. I don't, but there are some counter spells and some more draw spells, so why not? And we still get to hit for 4. And I still have Tail's End and Wash Away Up. Fire Magic doesn't really do much in this matchup. Here is the iteration. Land on the battlefield. Not bad value. I take 4, in total 4 damage. There's Snapcaster Mage. Good target for Exclude. I love to draw cards. Counter spell, fantastic draw. Opponent on 5 cards, I am on 5 cards. 3 of them are counter spells. I don't see how Prismari can do it. And I even get to Tail's End, one of the lands, insult to injury. Just make it harder to cast that 7 mana commander. He has Stock Up, that's great. Should find a counter spell. Or some ramp, Basalt Monolith. Here I hope to draw a burn spell of any kind. Here we go, Lightning Bolt. That is lethal. So let's attack first for 4. Put the bolt on the stack. Again, my opponent needs Force of Negation, and I still have Counterspell to protect the Lightning Bolt. He doesn't. I win round number 1 against Prismari. Round number 2, I play against Terra, so I expected a 5-color Reanimator deck. I have a Removal spell and a Ponder. Not too exciting, but it was already a mulligan to 6, so I don't want to go further to 5 cards. So let's begin with the Ponder. Not the greatest. I shuffle my library, I find a draw spell. I would really like to have a counter spell for the Terra because I think it gets cards in the graveyard quickly. My opponent surprises me with a Mana Elf. I kill it, as you should always. So it might not be the 5-color deck that I expected. Another Mana Elf. So it feels like a more creature version of the deck. Let's play Expressive Iteration, hopefully hitting some 1-mana spells. 2 counter spells and Flow State. All are non-castable. It's of course a big bummer. I would rather have a land or any 1-mana spell I could cast. Of course, playing a Expressive Iteration on turn 3 with the 2 mana I have is a bit greedy, but otherwise I didn't really have a good play. I didn't really have a good counter spell to interact with Terra on the next turn. Opponent has land cycling, and now he gets to play Terra. Let's see what he hits. Detective Phoenix, of course, fantastic card. Flash is interesting, so there is a creature combo aspect. He continues to ramp. Here I can play Uharis and kill Terra, so that he doesn't get to flip it. Demonic is great, I have no answer for it. Flage is also fantastic. I have no answer for it. It's a bit greedy in my mind to play Flage in a 5-color deck with Underground Sea. And the mana dorks that usually don't make the red or white mana. But it works out fantastically. Mountain cycling. Maybe I should have kept the Oliphant as a creature because it doesn't die to Flage. Opal Palace is of course fantastic because I can make Uharis bigger, that Flage cannot kill it, which is exactly what I do. Let's make a 4/5 and kill the elf. Opponent has 2 red, 1 white, and there's the next white, so he can play the Flage. Uharis is still bigger. Flage hits my face, and he can't even help with the Detective's Phoenix. Flame of Anor, of course annoying that it only deals 5 damage. I draw because I want to find a draw spell, remove a spell, excuse me. There's none. At least we look at 6 cards. I really had a hard time picking cards, so I took a counter spell and the bounce spell. Like, I wanted to find a red card. I can still threaten. Opponent thinks about if he wants to block, decides against it, which is probably correct because after first strike damage I can bolt it, and given that I just saw 6 cards, it's likely to have a bolt. Unfortunately, there is Dihada, and now this Flage becomes sick. Indestructible, lifelink, vigilance, and the lightning helix, and he can even put the Detective's Phoenix on top of it. My hand of only blue cards does not work out great against it. So here the Siege Rhino drains for 11 life, which of course makes it a challenge to win with Uharis. There's Croxa. I counter it. Maybe I should have cycled to just see another card and find a solution to Flage and Dihada. I cast Flow State. Maybe I should have cast Marang River Agent and return Flage as well as Dihada to hand, because I can block the Phoenix, and I would take 3 when the Flage is cast. But I didn't find anything to help with this massive combination Flage, Phoenix, and Dihada. Maybe I should have just cast the River Regent. Yeah, I could bounce. Maybe I could even bounce. No, I couldn't bounce the Phoenix because he can just equip. Maybe I could have bounced Dihada and Flage. Yeah, my bad. So my opponent deck is entirely different than I thought. It's more a creature mid-range graveyard-ish deck. First hand, not that great. Second hand, only 2 lands, but we do have some bolts. I put down the Tidebinder. I dislike 3 mana Stifle. It's probably good enough. Here I just play Lightning Bolt. Hope he plays a Mana Elf. Whoops, Utopa Sprawl, the best ramp spell there is, because it's hard to bolt it. And with hard, I mean impossible. Terra on turn 2. I can counter it with Change the Equation. Cool counter spell for sure. Find more counter spells. I find Exclude. Looks a bit better. Maybe I should have cast Fiery Impulse or Lightning Bolt on the elf. But I'm struggling with red mana. Always want to find more cards, and I also get to play Uharis and kill the Llanowar elves. Opponent 4 cards. Let's see. More ramp. Dumry's Call is interesting. I can just counter whatever he searched for. So probably searched for Bowmaster, and I counter that one. And here my reign of attack is free. Spiropluff Canal not coming in untapped hurts me. It hurt me last round as well. Not sure I like the card in the deck. Yes, it's fantastic when you have it quickly, but in the end not having the red source available is a bit of a bummer. Let's see what my opponent can do to us. Chaos Defiler is a bummer, gets rid of my commander, and also gets rid of my commander again once I kill it, and I don't want to spend 2 burn spells to get rid of it. I also don't want to cast the Fury to get rid of it, because the Fury would just die right away. Maybe I also should have just cast my commander and deal him 2 damage. I think not casting Fury was correct, but not casting my commander was not correct. I was a bit afraid of Chaos Defiler, but still, it looks dire. My opponent put a Hogak in the graveyard, which is also bad the moment he makes 2 black creatures. He even has reanimation, so it is some reanimation in the Terra deck, but certainly different than what I expected. Creatures are getting very, very big, much too big to handle with my red burn spells. The Fury is great, but it only deals 4 damage to Hogak. I would need to spend more to kill it with my burn spells. Here I sacrifice my Fury to get rid of the Hogak and also some burn spells. I am not a fan of my plays. I can keep the Fury, which is cool because I burned the Hogak after first strike damage, but there's the big problem of the red decks that all these big creatures are really tough to kill, and my opponent has the first black creature and a green creature, so he can simply cast Hogak again, and I have the same problem once again, having an 8/8 on the battlefield. The Traumatic Critique is interesting because it lets me hit his face. Maybe I should have hit the face because the Uharis blocks. Oko is of course fantastic. Now I can't even first strike block my opponent. He gets to take for 8. I am not blocking. Unholy Heat is cool, but I only have 1 card type in the graveyard. Now my opponent gets to minus Oko, steal my commander, even worse. I can critique the Chaos Defiler away. I do have... No, I have to do it now. It doesn't matter really, because he will kill one of my creatures anyways. With the trigger of Chaos Defiler. Then I block. Would be great to have the 4th card type in the graveyard so I could finish off Unholy Heat on Hogak. Opponent has just a creature. Let's see what I can find. Just a land, and I concede. So I think I was ahead at some point in the game, and then it just fell apart. Chaos Defiler was great. I decided to counter Bowmaster. Maybe that was a problem. If I had countered the Chaos Defiler, it would have been better. On the other hand, no, I think it would have been better because I have lots of burn spells in my deck, and countering the Chaos Defiler is quite important. So yeah, I should not have countered the Orcish Bowmasters, instead the Chaos Defiler. Round number 3, we play the Mirror. How exciting. So Mirror, control Mirror always, hit land drops, and don't get cheesed out by Wild Ride, Reckless Charge, Cloud to make the commander a bit bigger. Land go. I cycle for a land, so I hit my land drops. Let's draw some cards with the flame. And play my commander. My opponent has Glorious Gale, counter target creature spell. If it was legendary, the ring tempts you. Unfortunately, my counter spells don't line up well against what he just played. But I do have great interaction for his commander. He plays it. I start with Stern Scolding. And I decide against getting the Surveil Land. I'm not a fan. Maybe I should have just find the Surveil Land here, because now the stock up has to find a land. And I'm forcing myself to force spike his interaction. Yeah, here I have to take a land. At least the true name is cool, because it blocks the Uharis really well. And also means that if he makes the Uharis bigger, I can still block it really well. He plays the commander again. I do have Wash Away. 1 mana answers are just the best. Let's cast True Name. He has Stern Scolding, but I have Force of Negation. So if he has Uharis and what am I thinking about? Something that gives flying, I would be tough. But the Uharis costs 6 mana, so I think tapping out for True Name was okay. My opponent could just draw some cards with True Name, and then he decided to concede because I also had mana for Uharis, Opal Palace, so it would be an attack for 4, 8, 12, plus 3, 15, and I don't think he can recover from that. Game number 2 in the mirror. Again, I want lands, I want counter spells, I want draw spells, but even the burn spells are fine. And here we have exactly this. We have draw, we have counter, we have True Name, which fantastic blocker for Uharis once it is equipped. So let's fetch and cast that Consider in his end step. Phoenix, fantastic card to put in the graveyard. And the Spirebluff Canal, also a fantastic card to have so quickly. Opponent just passes. I just pass. And here my opponent plays Giga Drowse, tapping all my lands. I use the mana to just cycle and draw some cards. But I have a feeling that I'm gonna get 15 damage right here. It's only 12 damage. But I do have True Name Nemesis, which is of course fantastic. He needs an answer for it. He needs to give Uharis flying, otherwise my True Name can just block it. And this is exactly what happens here. Probably the only reason why you should play True Name. I have lots of counter spells and I can hold the Uharis back. Opponent 6 cards, but no answer for True Name. Having protection from his entire deck is of course great. Stock up. Let's remand it. He has Mana Leak. I need to find a way to make my Uharis bigger. And I do have it in Reckless Charge. So let's attack for 8. And also deal him 4 damage. And I present lethal. So that was cool. I think Giga Drowse into Cloud is fantastic. But I also think True Name Nemesis is just the bane of Uharis. And it was so good. How great. I win round number 3, 2-0 in the mirror. I hit land drops. My opponent went all in on his Cloud. And I had the foil in True Name Nemesis. Round number 4 is against Aang. White, blue. Let's see if I can pull it up. White, blue that airbends a spell. So I have to pay 2 mana to cast it again. And it's also a flash flying 3 mana creature. My hand is a bit of a stinker. Only some draw spells. Flow State not really exciting. It's just an sorcery speed Anticipate. But I still keep it. I think looking at it now and having played the matchup out, this is probably a mulligan. I have no removal. My draw spells are bad. Land to the graveyard. So the Surveil was bad as well. Wild Ride is cool because that is the combo card that I can use with Uharis. I decide against playing Flow State. I played Stock Up now. My opponent has Spell Pierce. That is miserable. And he plays Aang without anything. Maybe I should just return it to his hand. So instead of making tokens with the Saga, he has Lotus Veil, which makes 3 mana. Interesting choice, of course. Draneth is miserable for me. So I want to bounce the commander. But then I realized I cannot play my commander. Flow State, found more counter spells. Definitely an interesting deck from my opponent. Draneth is of course great. Only attacks for 1 though. I feel alright. Here I activate Mistrage to Village, but the Aang airbends it, so it doesn't matter if it's uncounterable. And the Draneth makes it so that I cannot cast the Cryptic Command. So here I have the Regent. If he has 1 mana interaction, he does Force Spike. Fire again. I do have Mental Misstep, but he has Mental Misstep of his own. So my 6-drop that bounced his 2 permanents wasn't helpful. He just placed more creatures to increase his clock. Brainstorm, no red spells. I do have 8/8 Murktide and I can Wild Ride it. My opponent has Mana Leak, but I do have a Spell Snare. I tap the red mana, but the Opal Palace helps me out making red mana. I can attack for 11 with haste in the air, so he's at 5, needs an answer for Murktide. He has Swift Configuration, attacks me for 5, plays another creature, and I drew the counterspell that I knew of. So the deck is interesting. The combination with Aang and Draneth is of course fantastic. It totally destroyed me. I think the mulligan was necessary because I didn't find any red card in the entire game besides Wild Ride, and just bolting or having a bolt for Draneth would have been so important. So hopefully I can do that in game number 2. Game number 2. Again, no bolt. My first hand had no bolt. I don't know where all my bolts are. That's really a matchup where you want to interact. I Surveil now, land to spell to the graveyard. There's a bolt finally. Maybe I should have cast that Flow State, because I am not hitting lands. My opponent now counters Flow State. I don't draw any lands. Yeah, I should have cast Flow State on my turn 3. Turn 2, excuse me. No land. And he gets the... Oh, he gets the Saga, okay. What can I find? No land. Okay, so I decided to concede after I didn't draw any lands for, in total, 5 turns. Maybe I should have went to 5, but I had some draw spells and some counter spells in the hand. I should have cast Flow State on turn 2, but not drawing lands, of course. Nothing you can do. Round number 5, 2-2. Hopefully I can get the W. Tasigur is my opponent, so a quick control deck. My removal doesn't do much. I wish the Fiery Impulse would have been their last game. Would have been much more important because the Tasigur is 4-5. Mental Note, good start. Probably means my opponent can cast it on turn 2. Yes, he can with a fetch land. I do not have Wash Away or Force Spike. So 4-5 on turn 2 on the play is strong. I do have some tricks in Ice, so I can tap it. Just make him slower. He doesn't have anything, so he was all in on Tasigur on turn 2. That was my hope. I cast Stock Up. No counter spell from my opponent. Missteps my Probe. Flashback is cool because I could Fiery Impulse, Flashback, Fiery Impulse to get rid of Tasigur. But it feels much better now that I have some lands and I also have some spells in my hand. Let's play my commander. In my end step I would love to deal with Tasigur, but I had a feeling that my opponent has a removal spell, so I shouldn't bank on Uharis. Maybe I could have waited past priority to go into the end step, then he had to kill Uharis. Maybe I could have waited, but the outcome is the same. I would still cast the Flow State in my second main. Type Binder again, miserable card. I wouldn't play it. Here I discard just a land, so I have lots of spells. I get attacked for 4, so I'm at 9, but 9 is still a good number because Tasigur doesn't have Bolt and it only attacks for 4. So as long as he doesn't make more creatures. It should be fine. If iteration is a bummer. Ponder is not fantastic. I want to draw some combo cards. At least the Prismari charm means I could bounce Tasigur to his hand. Here I show him Confluence and land. He takes the other 2 cards, so he's still dire on lands. I have 8 cards in hand, and I don't want to get the charm countered, so I would just play the charm now, bounce Tasigur to his hand, and give myself another turn. My opponent can just play Tasigur once again, but I wanted to preserve my life total. Here plays Thoughtseize, 6 cards in hand. Let's play Commander, see what he has. Memory Lapse. But I do have Miscalculation, and now I have the blocker for Tasigur. If I want to. Also, I threaten his life quite dramatically. Even more so than he does, because any pump spell makes it so that he's dying. He does have the Edict. I go to 5 life. Need some help, but I do have lots of lands, some draw spells. Discharge is cool. Let's play Uharis once again. And now I can Fiery Impulse and shoot. I played the Fiery Impulse before the shoot because my opponent could have Daze or Force of Negation. And if so, I would shoot his face. And again, my opponent can just cast Tasigur for a few mana, for a few tapped lands, exiling his entire graveyard. So it looked like a blue-black control deck. He blocks my Uharis. I Galvanic Discharge. I should have waited for first strike damage, but I don't think it matters much. Yeah, the removal spells line up poorly against the big toughness creatures. I think they get much better when Uharis is in the format, so anything with 4 or 5 plus toughness is so good. Here I just counter stock up. I'm ahead on board. My opponent misses land drops. Let's be quick and end this. Let's cast Consult. My opponent has to have Daze and Daze only. There's Reckless Charge. The game is over. Because I attack 4 in total, 15, and with a flashback it's even 8 times 3, so 24 damage. I love Reckless Charge in the deck. It's so cool. It is so cool. Flashback cost is so perfect with this card. Fantastic. I love it. We win game number 1. Let's hope for equal successful outcome of the second game. So game number 2 against Tasigur. Again, he's on the play. My hand is a bit of a stinker. Flame Slash doesn't kill Tasigur. Tidebinder is a bit slow. I don't like my keep. Surveil, land to the graveyard. I do have lands. Opponent doesn't have anything on turn 2. Lightning Bolt. Again, I wish I would have had it in the last rounds against Tasigur. It's a bit of a stinker. Here I ice his black-green land just to draw some cards. He shocks in the Breeding Pool, so it means he has interaction. He wants to cast a 2-mana counterspell. Or just get back one of his lands. Too bad he doesn't fetch right away. I wanted to tight bind it. I don't want to tight bind in the end step. I want to present counter spells because he plays Demonic Consultation combo. At least I do have Consult. No counter spell from my opponent is interesting. I do have 8 cards, so I draw too much. Get rid of a land. What can my opponent play? There's Tasigur. I do have Exclude. Fantastic answer. More draw. I love to draw. Drawing is best. Mystic Sanctuary. I just put Exclude on top. It's just the coolest card. I think it's a bit clunky, 3 mana. But what it has in clunkiness, it just gives in everything else. He has Consult. My counter spells don't line up well, so I just let it go. Opponent doesn't play Tasigur. Here is Demonic Tutor. I cast the Banshee Tongue. Hopefully I get to draw a card. I don't. Instant speed removal. I guess I didn't play any creatures so far. My opponent demonicked. I have Wild Ride, which is my demonic tutor basically. So I can always threaten a lethal, and here it's actually lethal because he's on 15 life. So let's draw 3 cards, right? The cards I drew are not too great though. I just play Oliphant. There's Cremate. What a shitty card. Oliphant resolves. Maybe his removal lines up against the smaller creatures better than it does line up against the big Oliphant. He puts Consult on top, not Demonic Tutor, that I found weird. There's Uharis. He has the counter spell, so he was prepared the entire game. But I can just play it again. Fatal Push. Still prepared. Only 4 cards though, and I still have 7. So I traded 2 cards in his hand for 0 cards in my hand. I am a bit afraid of just getting comboed out. But given that he took the Consult, I feel he's far away from the combo. If he took the Demonic, I would have been a bit more patient with my plays. There's Uharis. There's Wild Ride. And I still have the counter protection. Can even give it +2, +0. Last Goodbye though. What a bummer. Abrupt Decay, Last Goodbye, the only cards I couldn't counter with. Loose Focus and Miscalculation is exactly what happened to my friend Michael when he played against me and I had Last Goodbye against him. It feels a bit bad. Like, I don't know why you have to print. Cannot be countered on that card. It literally does what all the other cards do. Yeah, miserable. So we recover once again. My opponent has a Tasigur probably. And now he has so much mana that the activation will be easy. There's Tasigur. I do have the Tidebinder that can counter the Tasigur activation. Let's see what the stock up hits. Flame is fantastic because I can flame his Tasigur to death. I play the Tidebinder first because I wanted to draw more cards, but now he can counter my flame. But he had the counter spell, so he would have countered it anyways. I still don't like my play. Maybe I should have just countered it. And now he gets to activate Tasigur. I do have the Snapcaster Mage and I can flame the Tasigur in response to the activation so he doesn't get the counter spell. He activates again, only gets some unimportant card, no counter spell. So I get to flame and draw. Thanks to the Snapcaster Mage. 5 cards is cool and I have 7 cards in hand. 5 cards my opponent, 7 cards in hand. Wilderness Reclamation is a bit scary, so I counter it. Maybe I could have just paid for the counter spell, but I wanted to keep up Loose Focus with Replicate and Cryptic Command. Long drawn out game, for sure. Uharis on the stack. Opponent has Subtlety. I wish I could put Uharis on top of my library, but it doesn't work. Opponent has even more. Maybe I should have cast Unholy Heat and attacked for 2. The Subtlety is a bit of a bummer. Opponent gets to cast Tasigur again, activates Tasigur again. Maybe it was okay that I kept the Unholy Heat because having Delirium makes it so that the Tasigur dies right away. He doesn't even activate, so he must have some interaction in hand. I bolt Subtlety. And here I can Wild Ride the Snapcaster Mage. He has Tainted Pact. And he exiles lots of cards from his library until he finds Dismember. I have a counter spell for Dismember. He goes to 5 life and Wild Ride and Snapcaster Mage is exactly 5. Round 5 for Robert. So overall a 3-2. I beat Prismari, so the blue-red Storm Dragon it's a cool deck, but I feel my card quality is better than his because he has to play cards like Twiddle and all these combo cards, and also his commander is 7 mana. So the matchup should be good, and I didn't feel bad after losing round 1 because I know it's probably going to be a tough one for him, and in the end it was a 2-1. Round 2 I lost 0-2 against Terra, which didn't play the reanimate style that I thought it would. It was more like a value graveyard deck with Flage, Croxa, Phoenix. I feel this deck really misses some land hate in Magus of the Moon, Harbinger of the... No, not Tides, the blue one that makes everything island. That would be cool, just to have an out to these very, very greedy mana bases. When I played Terra, I struggled on mana quite often, and he wants to cast Croxa, Flage, and his commander, so there's so many color symbols in his deck where shutting down the non-basics, I think it's just an auto win. So yeah, maybe that could be cool. Not sure though. Then we played against Uharis, the Mirror. Our opponent went all in on the Cloud, which surprisingly that I just found out that my list doesn't have Cloud, the enchantment that gives it haste and shroud. I think it should have, because it's just insane, because on turn 4 you play it for 2 mana, equip the Cloud on it, and you even have a mana left, and you deal 12 damage. Fantastic. So yeah, I just took the first list from Manatraders. I am not happy that I didn't play Cloud, because I just thought, damn, I didn't have Cloud in any of the rounds. Well, obviously, because I don't run it, I don't have it in the deck. I still like the cards Wild Ride and where is it? Reckless Charge. I think they're fantastic because it combos so well with Uharis, I guess the Spider-Man. 5 plus 3 plus 0 means it's a 5 damage creature, a 5 power creature, and we'll deal 10 total damage because of double strike, and then 5 damage in the end. It's so good. It felt like a combo kill. And with Cloud, I think it has the same feeling to it. So our opponent went all in on the Cloud, but I happen to have the True Name Nemesis. I don't think the card is any good. It's probably the only matchup where you really, really want this, because the moment it resolved, it's going to be tough for your opponent to beat it. And the Cloud is the paper to True Name Nemesis, because you just block and there's nothing your opponent can do. And then you have time and can wait until you make it flying, and that really changes the clock. So I beat Uharis, the Mirror. Then I lost against Aang game 1. He had a lot of tricks with Water Ban, Drenith, and I didn't really find things to get rid of it. Probably I could have played differently. Very likely I could have played differently. Game 2, I kept 2 lands on the play. I surveilled a non-land to the bottom, and then I just never drew a 3rd land. That's game over, of course. The deck plays 38 lands, and I think there was a sink into Stupor, so 39 lands, which is perfectly fine, even for a control deck that likes to hit the land drops. So yeah, the game 2 was a bit unfortunate, not hitting the lands. Game 1, though, I think the moment you hit lands, there's something you can do with the blue deck. And then we played against Tasigur. He missed land drops in game 1, but had turn 2 Tasigur on the play. I was able to tap it and then get ahead on lands, on mana, and then in the end use the quality of my cards to win the game. And game 2 was similar. Yes, the Tasigur in the end is quite powerful with the activation on 4 mana. Probably I could have played it differently, better, as always, as usually. Could have played better the first time I tried Uharis. Overall, I think the deck is very cool. I love the combo aspect of Wild Ride, Reckless Charge. I would definitely play a Cloud of, is it Dominicus, Demonition? I will figure it out. The Cloud, the enchantment, blue-red that gives it haste and shroud. The Prismari charm was cool. I like that you can bounce your permanents, and then again you have the problem with all the 3 mana cards because they're quite pricey. Intuition without combo, Stock Up, fantastic. Tidebinder, well, if you get to catch a land, it doesn't feel that great on 3 mana. You don't even play Stifle, there's no Wasteland, so I'm not a fan of Tidebinder. I would rather play more 1 and 2 mana interaction. Force is the only force that you can play, so you play it. Sink is a land that you can play. True Name Nemesis is probably okay because Uharis is such a big part of the meta game, and it only doesn't block it when it's enchanted with a Phoenix. Archmage's Charm, problem as usual. If you could choose 2 modes, I think the card is fantastic. If not, the card is just meh. Vendilion Click is cool in the mirror, but it didn't came up. It's cool in the control mirror. It didn't came up. I just think 3-1 in today's Magic is not worthwhile playing, and this will also make the Flame of Anor a little worse, given that our Spider-Man is just a human hero and not a wizard. So yeah, so my feeling is cutting a little bit of the expensive spells, keeping the cheap spells. Murktide Regent is fantastic. I'm not certain about the River Regent. It's quite pricey on the 6 mana side, and it just draws some cards on the 4 mana side, and the same is true for Cryptic and Mystic Confluence. Memory Deluge at least has the benefit of being a flashback spell. Traumatic Critique was interesting, but yeah, kind of meh. Wan Shi Tong is cool because it lets you draw cards. It's a flash creature. I missed the creatures a little bit. Let's see if I can show me some creatures. No, I can't. But yeah, there are not so many creatures in the deck. It's mostly the value cards. Maybe I will play a few more creatures to just get ahead on board and attack. But overall, the deck is cool. The mana is stable. I like all the fun lands in the Kella, Arena of Glory, Castle Ventress, of course Otavera to bounce, Mystic Sanctuary I should have used more often, but most of the times I was unsure what to get. Mistrise Village is fantastic as well. If you have the mana to spare, it will be really, really hard to beat in the control mirror. So overall, 3-2, got some prices, fantastic deck. It's cool to play. I know why this is such a big part of the meta. Having this on turn 4, by still keeping 2 mana ups, I don't even feel it's a drawback. Yes, it's slow, but you always want to protect your commander anyways, so it feels very natural to just cast it on turn 4 and have a counter spell up to protect it, and then you can shoot if you play against creatures. This is super hard to beat, which is ironic because the only creature deck I faced I lost against. But yeah, I feel that this Terra deck with Kroxa, Flage, and is it Jihari, the Planeswalker that gives it Vigilance, Indestructible, Lifelink, like it's super greedy and tough to punish if you don't play any non-basic hate. Just playing some Tails Ends and Tishana's Tidebinders won't do it. So yeah, that is it for today. I hope you have a good one. Check out my sponsors, Double Trading, Manatraders. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, do it now, please. Helps me a lot, and I'm also happy to take any suggestions for decks that I could play in the future. So far, see you.